Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. It feels like the scammer and fraudster industry has grown at an incredible rate, and we're still being defrauded millions of dollars. Today, we'll focus on what red flags to look out for to protect ourselves from romance scams, emergency scams, investment scams, lottery scams, and the new extortion scam. I'm joined by Sgt Jennifer Horner, who's worked in the Fraud Bureau, Crime Prevention, and Divisional Mobilization Units at Peel Region Police. Sgt Horner, Jen.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for being here
great
today.
To see you again.
I know, it's great to see you again. It feels like it's been forever.
It has.
Okay, I just want to begin right away, romance scams. Like, we're all being defrauded a lot of money, and everybody hears about the red flags, and everybody just wants to be loved. Everyone's online dating right now. Like, what should we do to protect ourselves?
I think absolutely knowing what to look for in terms of those red flags. And a lot of those red flags are that these romances are initiated through some form of an online dating platform or social media platform. The messages may come out of the blue. Their profession of love right away is kind of the biggest one, where all of a sudden they're so incredibly into the victim, very, very fast rate. But yet there's the inabilities to talk in person, see each other in person, or that they can't even FaceTime. And the conversations are typically over messaging. And then they're in a far distant place where they can't see each other. And then comes the trouble of, well, I'm needing money for travel and these types of things. So they're asking for money, even though you haven't really met them or had that connection with them in person. So some of those are the key red flags to look for.
And the thing is, we've all talked about these red flags over and over and over again. Yet, I don't know whether it's because we just want to be loved so badly that we kind of put the red flags aside.
Yeah, I think honestly, sometimes, these fraudsters are professionals. I mean, it's their job day in and day out. What you do very well. What I do very well. So they spend a lot of time honing their craft, and they take the time and the patience. So I think it's unfortunately that grooming component that lulls that victim into that sense of confidence that this is something real. I think it's very much talking to other people when you meet people and when you're meeting someone for new and that discussion of money. But I think it's ultimately making the decision to separate personal from finance, and that having that kind of established line that I'm in a romance with somebody, it's new, it's initial, I'm not going to even discuss providing money or sending money or giving them money if they are in trouble.
You know, those are incredible words of wisdom, because we've always been told not to lend our friends money. Don't lend your family money.
Yes.
So this should be no different. I mean,
no. But the heart does some funny things. It really honestly does. And it is hard to see people become so entrenched in believing that it is wholeheartedly real. And again, I think just people, like you said, want to be cared for and loved and have that special someone. But it's just really dividing that money financial part from it.
So you and I were talking before the show, and you had mentioned the extortion scam.
Yes.
Explain to us what this is.
So extortion scam is really just the idea that you coerce somebody, scammers coerces somebody to sending money. The bigger one that we're finding is trending is sextortion. So it's where there's videos, intimate images that have been exchanged from victim to scammer. And then now the scammer is demanding some form of money, or they're going to release more photos, or that they're going to send it out to family and friends. So the sextortion one we're seeing in all ages, unfortunately. So it's really important to not utilize or to be sending any of those images through the internet.
So is this somebody that you are dating through, let's say, a romance scam, or someone that you haven't met yet?
Yeah.
And then they start asking you for photos of body parts?
Yes. So somebody who messages randomly through social media, you've never met them before, somebody who you've just met online, and they are asking for those intimate images or those videos, and then they turn around and demand money from the victim, and feeling so vulnerable, they do it. So in those circumstances, we encourage victims coming forward and talking about it and sharing their stories in the hopes that, it minimizes what happens to them.
And I think that's really important, sharing the story. A lot of people are afraid to mention it to anyone because they're ashamed.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can't be ashamed. We need to share all these stories so that other people don't get scammed, and we learn from other people's experiences. Now, when we come back, we will talk about more different types of red flags, what we should do to protect ourselves. So please don't go away. We'll be right back with more scams and fraudsters and red flags. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're discussing frauds and scams and what red flags to look out for to protect ourselves. So, Jem, we were talking about the extortion scam.
Yes.
And during the commercial break, we were also talking about the fact that, well, what happens if you say to them, well, that's not me. This is AI generated. This has nothing to do with me, so I'm not going to give you the money.
And that can happen and may happen and may have happened. And I think sometimes, too, some of these extortion scams, even they talk about the coercion where you may have downloaded images, where there are people or individuals that have been given a letter or sent a letter saying that you've downloaded inappropriate content, even though they haven't. So it's being confident in that you haven't sent any images, if they're saying that that is you, or that you're confident that you haven't downloaded and not feeling this sense of having to sort of play into that extortion. But again, talking to somebody about it. If it's happening, and I know for young people it's happening, and they're feeling uncomfortable going to their parents and talking about it, but it's so important that they go and they explain the situation, and then they can feel confident to know that they don't have to pay any money to kind of get out of this seeming trouble that they think that they're actually in when they're not.
And that's a problem too, because that problem that may or may not be real, I mean, that takes a toll on you.
Absolutely.
And it takes a toll on the family as well.
Absolutely. And I think you talked about in the other segment about people not wanting to come forward in the embarrassment. And a lot of times people won't say anything. Victims won't come forward. They do hide it from their families at the fear that their families will be upset or be mad. But then they just get pulled deeper into the scam, and they can't see how deep they've gotten into it. And that's why it is so important to run something by a friend, whatever the scam it is, and really talk through what those red flags are and ensure that you aren't sending any money as a result.
So I want to talk about personal safety, because a lot of young people are dating, a lot of older people are dating, and they haven't been in the dating, they haven't been dating for 20, 30 years or whatever, and they're back in again. So personal safety, when you're meeting someone new, what should they do?
Well, and if people are meeting through social media platforms, which most and many are, that it's having a safe place to meet if you are going to meet them in person, not revealing so much of your life before that circumstance, and having the ability to see their profile and understand what their background might be if it is through a social media platform. But I think the bigger thing is to not share so much of your life right up front. And if you are going to meet them in person, if by chance it's in a safe place and it's somewhere that you can be open and it's in a public space and you can feel safe, and telling somebody about it too, and sharing that with somebody that you know when they're going out.
And I think that's important. I know that when I was dating, I would let my girlfriends know where I was going, and I would text when I got there and text when I got home.
And might have texted the signal when you needed to get out of there really fast, right?
Very true. Very true. Okay. Signals, emergency scam.
Yes.
They seem to target seniors and parents now. So tell us about the emergency scam.
So the emergency scam works on the premise that the scammer calls claiming some emergency, that someone's been arrested or somebody's in trouble or somebody's hurt, and that in order to fix the circumstances, you need to pay money. And that individual calling that grandparent or that parent might say that they're a lawyer, or may even say it's a police officer and that there's been an accident or there's been some arrest. In order to get them out of jail, to free them of bail, they need to send money or to pay money. So in this circumstance, it's going to be out of the blue. It's going to be the demand of money right away in order to fix the situation, and that they're going to probably tell you not to tell anybody. Whether it's don't tell my mom or my dad, if it's the grandparent scam, or that they're demanding that you don't even get off the phone. So a lot of times these victims are going to the bank, to the ATM machine, to the Bitcoin machine, still on the phone, because these scammers are instructing them on what to do. So these are a lot of the things to look for when this emergency scam is coming in.
I remember I was talking to you a couple of years ago, and you were talking about a signal for an emergency scam, just to make sure that, yes, indeed, it is the grandchild, the child, or whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's whether it's something that grandchild might know that the scammer might not know, whether it's a nickname, their street name, their pet name, something like that, that this scammer may not know, in order to kind of signal that it is in fact not them. But most importantly, in that circumstance, hang up the phone and call somebody, or call that person they're saying that's in trouble. And I can guarantee they're going to answer the phone and they're going to be completely fine, and they're going to be at home and everything's going to be okay. So it's not allowing that scammer to kind of keep you on the phone for that long.
So when you've got that situation, ask personal questions, hang up the phone,
Right.
Do not go and get money,
No.
and tell somebody else, so that everyone is on the same page and you're not going to be scammed, in the last minute.
Yeah.
So when we come back, more red flags of different scams to protect us from the future. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's episode, we're discussing frauds and scams and what red flags to look out for to protect ourselves. Now, before we went to break, we were talking about the emergency scam. And I'm wondering, what happens when they say to you, we're coming over to your house?
In that circumstance, you're calling 911 and providing the information that they're explaining to you over the phone. In those circumstances, the suspects or the scammers would be coming to the home for the primary purpose of picking up whatever money that they're asking for. But in that instance, it's knowing that there's a complete stranger coming to your home, which you would never allow. It's having the confidence to hang up the phone and call 911.
Okay, great words of wisdom, because a lot of people think, what if I hang up, they're going to come to my house? If everyone is so afraid of making the wrong move, because this is new to us, and it's a lot to take in.
And that's what the scammers are relying on, is that idea in this state of emergency, our brains don't work or function as normal, right? Our fight or flight brain takes over, not our reason frontal lobe. So that's kind of what they're relying on. It's taking a deep breath, slowing things down and really thinking about it and kind of walking it through. But again, just having somebody you can call and trust to run things by them and not impulsively sending that money.
Okay, so let's move on to investment scams.
Okay.
Because they seem to be at the top still.
Yes.
Even with all the regulators and all the information out there. And this is Financial Literacy Month is November. And, when people are losing their jobs and interest rates are high, inflation is high, everyone's looking for those get-rich-quick schemes. And I want to talk about investment scams. What are the more popular financial scams that we have to look out for?
The first one, like you said, from an investment perspective, is that somebody might be on a social media platform or receive an email from a random person that talks about this opportunity of an investment with a high interest return. Finance world is your world in terms of what would be fair and reasonable in terms of a return. But some of the numbers that they might be saying that you'd be getting back is 20, 30, 40%. Quick returns, quick money, quick cash. And then the red flag with those is a lot of times they're utilizing some form of cryptocurrency, depositing it into a cryptocurrency app, and then money is transferred out. There's no abilities to get that cryptocurrency back into your wallet per se. But they lull the investor in thinking for a few short weeks or months, they see this apparent investment growing, enticing them to invest more. Or they may send them a little bit of money just to say, look, it works. And then meanwhile, it's only just a way to pull them back in and to invest more money. It's knowing that your money doesn't grow that fast and these opportunities don't exist out there where there is these exorbitant returns. And then the other one is the job scam. So again, just the idea of getting a job, but they want to advance you some money with a check. You cash that check and you're to send some money back to that employer. But really what you're doing is you're just sending money back from a bad check. So you're out money in your account. Those are some ways just from a job perspective, investment perspective, that we're seeing people be victimized, unfortunately.
And I just want to mention, because I feel this is really, really important. If you are going to invest your money, go to CIRO, the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. Look up the investment firms. Look up who is real and who is not.
Yes.
Because all those investment firms need to be regulated. They are on the website. So when in doubt, do some research. Don't just jump in and give people money.
Agreed. Due diligence, I think, is first and foremost, not that impulsivity. I've always said this, if my brother came to me and asked me for $5,000, I'd run him through the ringer, right? So why are we going to do that with a complete stranger we've never seen online, but because they have this fancy picture or fancy profile? So it's really just a matter of just doing your due diligence.
The other thing too, you and I talked about this during COVID lockdown, scammers were starting to steal logos of really good investment firms,
Yes,
reputable, known investment firms, and taking photos of people from LinkedIn, dropping them in, and then telling people to invest with their credit cards
yeah.
and Bitcoin. So more red flags there.
Yes. And I think it's really just realizing that just because there's a picture there doesn't make it real or so. There's more background that you have to kind of verify, again, because people are able to do some amazing things with the internet, unfortunately, but some of them are not for good.
Yeah, so we always have to really take care of ourselves, our hard-earned money.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that, before we invest, do our due diligence. Before we send money out to a romance scammer, due diligence. Jobs as well. We really have to take care of ourselves before we give anyone our hard-earned money. So when we come back, we are going to touch upon lottery scams and other scams. So please don't go away. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. On today's episode, we're discussing frauds and scams and what red flags to look out for to protect ourselves. I'm joined by Sgt Jennifer Horner, who has worked in the Fraud Bureau, Crime Prevention, and Divisional Mobilization Units in Peel Region. So Jen, before we went to break, we were talking about lottery scams. What can you tell us about them?
So the lottery scam, as like the emergency scam that plays on emergency component, the lottery scam plays on the excitement. So a phone call out of the blue, a letter out of the blue, claiming that you've won some large lottery prize. But in order to claim the prize, you have to make some advanced fee. So whether that's lawyers' fees, taxes, fees, or whichever. But again, to win a lottery, you shouldn't be paying to get lottery. But that's kind of the premise of the scam, is that they're asking for money up front before you were to receive your supposed prize. So again, like I said, parts of our brains when we're excited or when we're scared or fearful, fight or flight takes over. So we just are so concerned or consumed by the idea of getting this prize, we don't see that it doesn't make sense to send money in advance. So that is absolutely the red flag with respect to the lottery scam.
So I want to talk about women. What is the biggest fraud concern for Canadian women?
For sure, I think the romance scam piece. And then within that romance scam piece, the idea of maybe them being pulled into the investment scam. So we see occurrences where, unfortunately, victims have met somebody, and whether that is through their friendship or their relationship, they talk about them investing in something, investing in a business or something of the like. So again, like you said, it's being very empowered as women to be very savvy with their money, very confident with their money, and kind of separate both from their relationship.
So I'm going to step back now because this is not like a scam or a fraud or anything. However, it's happening to a lot of Canadians. I want to talk about all of the high-end vehicle theft from everyone's driveways. What can we do to protect ourselves?
So I think for homeowners and for those as vehicle owners, when your vehicles are at home, that you're keeping your key fobs and your keys away from the front door. So having them in an entirely different place within the home so they're not readily in that front door area, which we've always typically, I think, done. Keeping them in a Faraday bag, so a bag that doesn't emit the signal from the key fob, and again, keeping it away from the front door. Having excellent lighting in the front of your house, the benefit of surveillance cameras, an alert system to maybe somebody walking in and amongst your property, especially any motion censored lighting, and utilizing some form of theft deterrent system within your vehicle, whether it is utilizing air tags or some type of GPS tracking, but even just utilizing a steer wheel lock or a steer brake lock. Like an old traditional mechanism that you can put on your steering wheel in order for them to not be able to actually get that vehicle out of your driveway, or parking it in the garage if you can.
So we have to go back to old school.
Very much so.
Old school technology.
Very much so.
With the lock and the bar.
Yeah, the bar that goes through.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about selling things online because that secondhand,
sure.
It's growing, and a lot of people are trying to sell their things.
Yes.
So I'm terrified to sell anything online. what is the proper and safe way to do it?
So I think doing it, if you are going to meet somebody, that you're going to meet them in a public place. Police services offer parking lots as a safe space that you can utilize for that product exchange. If you're being contacted by somebody because you're selling something online, just look for little things like they want to have a courier company pick it up, but they want to send you a check in advance. Can you cash the check and then send money to the courier? That's a form of an advance fee check scam. And then just kind of knowing, what doesn't kind of seem right, especially in the profile of the person that's contacting you, the language that they're using sometimes. But I think if you're going to meet them in a safe place.
So how can we make movements to stop scams?
I think we have to really just slow down, do our due diligence, not rush, and take our time and talk to people. Talk it through whomever you know when you're in these circumstances and things are happening, and kind of draw out where things don't seem right.
So I always say stop, pause, think.
Yes.
And then delete or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, Jen.
Thanks for having me.
If you're a victim of fraud, contact your local police department and the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre to report it. If you send money to the fraudster, also contact your financial institution. Now, if you've been scammed once, beware. They will try and scam you again. The second time, they'll tell you that they're trying to help you get your money back. Don't be ashamed. If you tell one friend, you could prevent them from becoming a victim as well. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm here to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.